disgraceful, disgusting. Well, Mr. President, today Senate Republicans are once again wasting time on voter suppression instead of paying TSA. Republicans have an amendment on the Senate floor dressed up as what they call common sense voter ID. But let's be very clear what this amendment is. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and it's a giant cover-up to cover up what their bill really does, which is dramatic voter suppression, kicking 20 million or more people off the rolls without their knowledge or consent. The point here is not at all about voter ID. In fact, 99% of the SAVE Act doesn't talk about voter ID. Most of their bill is kicking people off the voter rolls and making re-registering, once you're kicked off, a bureaucratic nightmare, an almost impossibility for many people. And once again, the public saw the SAVE Act for what it really is, a voter suppression bill. And once that happened, Republicans had to do something. So they cobbled together this amendment as a cover-up. It was never in the original bill. And now they pretend it's reasonable policy on voter ID. But let's get to the facts. The amendment Republicans are pushing today would impose the single strictest voter ID law in America, stricter than Texas, stricter than Florida, stricter than any state in the country. Republicans are calling this amendment common sense. But if it's so common sense, why is it stricter than what every single red state already offers? Many states already have rules in place for voter ID, and every state has some method to verify the identity of voters. Republicans pretend like states don't have backup verification systems, backups to those backups, and redundancies in place to ensure that our elections are safe and secure. But we do, and it's why voter fraud, this whole bill is hidden cover-up, because they say they need to stop voter fraud. There isn't any to mention at all. That's how absurd this is. Only 77 cases of non-citizen vote in 24 years, and we're going to upend our whole system of how people register to vote for that because of those 77 cases in 24 years. Just disgraceful, disgusting. This talk about vote by mail. Under this ridiculous amendment, voters who choose to vote by mail, which is about 1 in 3 Americans, guess what they'd have to do? They'd have to add a photocopy of their ID with their ballot. So the election officials would open up the envelope and could see how you voted. The sacred secrecy of our ballot would be undone by this amendment. It's ridiculous. Again, they're supportive of common sense voter ID standards. This amendment is not about security. It's about exclusion. It's not about security. It's about exclusion. And the SAVE Act is not about protecting our elections. It's about suppressing the vote. Yield the floor. And
Mr. President, I would like to suggest that I go through this again about what's actually in this amendment, because it was just misrepresented. This isn't the Save America Act. This is, frankly, me listening to the minority leader and what he said and how he doesn't object to photo ID. So all that's in this amendment is 5 forms of photo ID that people can list to vote, which people have. I ask the American people, do you have a driver's license? Do you have a state ID? Do you have a passport? Do you have a military or veterans ID? Do you have a tribal ID? Because every American has one of those things or has access to it. In Ohio, we will pay for you to have a free state ID. That's all this asks. Show one of those 5 forms of identification. And then the misrepresentation about what this does on mail-in ballots. Clearly, some people don't know how it works. I can explain to you how it works. When you have a mail-in ballot process, you have the ballot, you have the mail-in envelope, you have 2 envelopes. You have the mail-in envelope, and then you have a security envelope inside in which your ballot is contained. You put the information, whether that is a photo of your passport or the last 4 digits of your Social Security number on the outside of that envelope where no one can see your ballot. It validates that the ballot inside is legit, that it's from a qualified registered voter. They remove that information and put the ballots on the other side in the presence of both a Democrat and Republican, and then the ballots are counted. That's how it works, not that misrepresentation. The problem is this is too simple. It's simple photo ID. You either believe that we need to know who's voting or you don't. And this simple amendment accomplishes that. The misrepresentation of how it works needed to be corrected. And Mr. President, I yield the floor.